Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good.
What's your name?
Ruzuna Akoth.
Ruzah Akoth, yeah?
Azu.
Okay, yeah, Azu. Sawa, wacha tuende na Azu. Azu, tuambie mbona tuko hapa siku ya leo.
We are commemorating Pan-African Women's Day. It's celebrated every 31st of July every year. Yeah.
Why do you think this day is not as much popular as the other Women's Day, the other one that we have?
Well, that's the story of women in a patriarchal society, that a lot of our concerns, issues, and even some of our celebrations are not normally as known.
But you have so many celebrations. You have tomorrow Girlfriend's Day, mkona leo Pan-African Women's Day, mkona Women's Day.
Yeah, you see, Girlfriend's Day is different. It's like a party thing, or Valentine's Day. But Pan-African Women's Day comes in the context of struggle for the liberation and the contributions of women in that process of struggle to transcend colonialism and imperialism. So women have always been part of that struggle. But when we read history, when we read historical books, we watch documentary, we hear of all these we hear revolutionaries. Everybody knows Sankara. Everybody knows Nkrumah. And you're wondering, where were the women in the world of the Nkrumahs and the Sankaras? We don't know them. So this is a day that is set aside so that we are able to highlight the women who are integral in the struggle, not just to end colonialism in Kenya, but to end all forms of oppression, including neocolonialism.
Yeah. So we have been seeing women in the struggle. Can you tell us some of the pivotal roles, not pivotal, but pivotal roles? Yeah, those particular strong areas that women have been playing in this particular revolution.
Well, that's everywhere really, because when you want to think about the contributions of women in the struggle, you just have to look around you. Women are everywhere. So it's strange when you find stories and books are written and you're not seeing the women. Where did they go? But women have always contributed to the struggle from the home and outside the home. We've had women who like if you're talking about the struggle for independence, they were both in combat and off combat. They were taking care of people at home, they were fighting, they were involved in communication. They were everywhere, I can say that. And my problem usually is when we talk about the women in the struggle, there's a tendency to focus on those who are in combat, as if that is the only contribution that is of value. But you see, even in combat, people need to eat, people need to sleep, and people are also suffering. So there's a lot of crying and grieving, and it is the women who do the work of holding us when we come back from war.
So we have seen that particular revolution of the 19s and everything. I think it's supposed to be the 19s and everything.
Yes.
And right now we have another revolution by the generations. Can you tell us what difference do you see in terms of roles of women who are playing this particular revolution? Difference in roles?
I wouldn't say difference in role. I would just say that it is a different time.
Okay.
But I would say that the women right now who are involved in the protests, I try to avoid the Gen Z tag because I believe it's a whole lot of Kenyans that are participating. But I would say the women right now are picking up or continuing the struggle from the women during the colonial times. Women like Wangari Maathai were picketing, they were protesting at Uhuru Park, and that was like during the struggle against neocolonialism under Moi. And then you had like the Murang'a women strikes during colonialism, which they were struggling to end colonialism. These were all actions against the state, and right now you have women again coming coming out in the streets and they are doing direct action again against the state. So it's just a different time, but it's a continuing struggle to end, colonial and imperial oppression. Yeah.
I want to hear your comments on a particular photo that went around. All of a sudden, we had a dialogue. We had a dialogue between one particular opposition leader and our current government. But it brought a lot of issues, especially to women. They were like, I cannot see a single women. A photo that was outside the Kenya International Conference Center when Baba came to say that they are supposed to be a dialogue.
I remember.
Controversy, and you cannot see a single woman and everything. How does this make you feel, and what is your opinion about this?
No, I think I'm okay with not having women in that kind of, because we don't want representation of women in institutions of oppression. That lineup was literally a summation of the problem that we have in Kenya. So I wouldn't want for women to be represented in that. When we are talking about representation for women, we are talking about substantive representation. Someone who goes there and can be held accountable to the women that she claims to represent. But as it is, we are having, women who are just, face value representative, descriptive.
So they give names?
Like Esther Passaris. We don't need such women. They're there and they're not representing our own interests. And because women always have to fight like 2-3 times as harder to get into some of these positions, or even to quote be represented in these positions. Having people like Passaris in those positions, it really takes us miles back, it's when they cannot represent fairly represent or substantively represent the realities and the concerns of the women.
So there has been a mentioning about Passaris. It brings about that she is a woman representative, and there was this conversation about the protest that people say that we have a lot of those women positions reps, of women reps in the country, and some are suggesting that they be scrapped off in order to save into the budget. Do you think this is sustainable, and do you think that's how it's supposed to be done? What's your thought about this?
The problem is not the women reps position. The problem is the process through which these people are appointed into these positions, So the appointing authority is Ruto. He doesn't care about women. He picks his...
But women representative positions are elected.
So you have still the process of representation is a problem, because you have it is the only rich women who can actually vie for this, and then they're getting into these positions again through parties. These parties are actually owned by people. Again, it comes back to people like Ruto and Raila. And when you are in someone's party, you do their bidding. You have to prioritize their interests, which means you're prioritizing, patriarchal interests at the expense of the women you quote supposed to be representing. That's why people like Passaris are fighting fiercely against us, and not for us. So the problem is not the women's rep position, but the people, how the system actually ensures that it is people like Passaris, like Karen Nyamu, that get into these spaces, and we don't have a way of holding these women accountable. So if we had said we need like 2/3 gender rule and we need women there, then the women population should have a process by which they get to nominate and appoint their own people, and also remove them when they are not performing. But we don't have that power. So whether they are elected or appointed, it is the appointing authority is patriarchal. The nominating authority, the party that represents them is patriarchal. So those women have the power to oppress that other men do. So, you see? So we need to change that. It is the system, the process. It's not the problem is not the position. And that one, if we are to argue against the women rep position, then let's argue against the whole parliament, because they're performing the same role.
So what is your call for action today as we come to a conclusion on this Pan-African Day?
A conclusion to?
Your call for action.
Well, I think at the moment I would just urge us as Kenyans to stay vigilant. Going up against the state is not easy because the state is organized. It is violent. So we are out organized. So to fight, we need to be very deliberate, very intentional, very vigilant, and keep going, because there's so many times you will feel disillusioned, you'll feel tired, you'll feel like to what end, So you have to stay vigilant and keep telling yourself that this struggle does not